Okay, it's that time again. I cannot believe how quickly the weeks fly by.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. You can't believe it's time for another episode.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped about this guest, though.
Yeah.
First guest that's ever asked about the styrofoam on the walls and how it made the bricks happen.
Also the first guest to ever be treated to a lobster dinner prior to the show.
We'll explain. Go ahead, Dan.
Even when we got nothing to talk about, there's nowhere I'd rather be. 'Cause there's something about you and me just sitting around talking Scheetz.
All right. We cannot let the guest talk until we introduce them, but this guest said that song is so soothing.
Yeah, we're just going to speak for the guest the whole episode.
Exactly. So we're not going to actually introduce this guest till like 30 minutes in.
Because why would we want them to speak, right?
We want this guest to speak.
Very much.
Who is our guest?
Our guest is the Oilers TV reporter and host, but also more importantly, I think, very, very close friend of the show and to me and to the entire family.
Yeah, what, just you now all of a sudden?
Well, I feel like this is my episode. I feel very excited about the guest, but actually a little bit nervous.
I told Bailey, I know I'm normally like just kind of like, just kind of trying to take control of things because I'm dad.
Yeah.
But I said, I'm going to lay back on this one. But she's my friend too. She's all of our friends. She's a friend of the family, friend of the show.
Friend of the city at this point.
Exactly. And her name is?
Paige Martin. Welcome to Talking Scheetz.
Guys, it's such an honor to be here. Thank you so much. Not only are we friends, but you guys have like adopted us. So
Yeah.
I say us, my partner as well, Bree.
Yeah.
And thank you for that because out here you guys are our family. So
Yeah. Well, that's very nice. And it's, you've been here for way too many meals. So we finally said, hey, you might as well come downstairs and do the podcast
that's
with us.
part of why I feel adopted is because
Yeah.
you guys feed me as though you're my parents.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Your partner, Bree, it's like 37 pounds, but eats like she's 500.
That sounds about right. She's a good little eater.
We'll talk a bit more about the lobster, but seeing Brie attack that lobster, I was like, man, this girl can do anything. And we know that, but
a little bit of a homicidal maniac there. I'm just saying, because that lobster never stood a chance from the time it left the East Coast and it got here and it thought, oh my gosh, what has hit me with those pliers? My buddy Charles Malish, shout out to Charles, good guy, owns SI360, free plug for them. He reached out today and he says, hey, I've gotten some lobster flown in. He says, you want some? I said, you know what? I'm not a lobster fan, but my wife Karen is. And so I went to pick up 2, got 4. And then the ladies came over to have dinner with us. And when they saw those lobster, it was like, honestly, it was like the greatest experience of your life.
It was like love at first sight for Bree.
Yeah.
And I know.
Which, by the way, there's nothing uglier than a lobster.
No, but she lit up as soon as they were on the counter. And she was like, she kind of looked at me. I don't know if you saw that and was like,
Are these for us?
yeah. So the moment that you give her a task that she has the potential to excel at, even if she doesn't, if she's not previously good at it, she'll learn.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
her and Leslie, who we talk about on the show, my sister-in-law, they said, well, we're cooking lobster. Okay.
Yeah.
We are not a seafood family.
No, we're not.
We don't cook a lot of
Well,
seafood.
that's not true because when we see food, we eat it.
We are a seafood family, but we
Very
are not
different.
We are not a
the dad joke.
we are not an in the ocean seafood. I've never had lobster at our home before.
No.
And so it was
No, we
really
never have.
it was such a treat. And then having the girls come over, it was not many Talking Scheetz guests. If others are listening, they're going to be like, why didn't I get a lobster dinner prior to the show?
Yeah.
And that's fair because I feel like that is a prime example of just how well you guys have treated us in our entire time here. We'll show up and we have no idea that we're going to get a lobster dinner.
Well, either did we.
It kind of just came together.
Shout out Charles.
We really buttered up our guests.
We definitely did. We definitely did butter them up, and it was good. It was great. Obviously,
was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that Bree could handle it.
Yeah.
I had no idea how to get to
her,
the actual
her and
part.
Leslie were like, they were pulling pieces out of that lobster that I didn't even think were there. And they're like, they're so excited when they found a little extra piece. Let's talk less about the lobster. I want to talk more about something that just happened before the show started that I found very strange. You share your cell phone location with Bailey's husband, producer of the show, star of last week's show when we found out that he pooped his pants, Renato Pignani. You share your phone location with him. Explain.
Absolutely. I feel as though Bree and I always talk about the importance of being able to have reliable men in our life.
Right.
And no matter the fact that he has pooped his pants, that's okay. We trust him more than anything.
The only thing he's not reliable with is number twos.
The thing is, we also trust him if we need a man to
Yeah.
save our life. He's
Yeah.
probably going to get the first call. Like
I
I
guess
said,
because he's closer than me because I thought I was number one.
distance-wise, yeah, it would be
Yeah.
hard for you if it was an emergency.
But if you had to call one of us to save your life, which one would it be?
I'm not saying that.
I think it would depend on the scenario.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you've helped them with like some car stuff, some tire things. Renato's not gonna help with that, but like if you need emotional support in any
Oh,
way,
yeah,
he's
no.
gonna be the guy.
For sure.
Yeah,
but
like
if you
when
need
the-
muscle,
When my tire situation happened and you just simply leaned by my car and looked at it and said, like, this
Yeah.
is an issue, but it's going to be okay.
yeah.
I felt so much better because a dad said, this is an issue. It's going to be okay.
But I wouldn't trust Renato as much with that.
No.
But with many other things.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
emotional support. It's the emotional support location.
And if we ever get lost, now
Yeah.
Renato knows where we are.
I get it now. Okay,
Yeah.
now that makes sense. Sharing your phone location with people that, I mean, that would be a topic upon
Oh,
itself.
very
So
much,
That's
yeah.
why I just wanted to bring it up. And for the record, once Renato did ask me what this tool was, and I said, it's a screwdriver, Renato. So, yeah, not the tool guy.
Okay,
But-
that's for you.
Emotional guy
Yeah.
and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
He thinks that he's disagreeing in the
Renato
corner.
is a
but-
girl's girl.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
And that's like the most green flag about him.
Yeah, he can really get down with the girls. Like the Barbie movie that came out
Yeah.
2 summers ago now.
Yeah.
There's Alan that just wants to be around the Barbies. That's Renato, and that's what I love about him too. Is that
That's what I love too.
he wants to be around the Barbies.
He's my Alan too. I agree. Okay, enough about that. He's already had his show. Let's move on.
Then, of course, we're talking about him for 7 minutes to start the show. No.
Okay, we got to talk a little bit about
Yeah, I think we're
Paige's
circling.
job.
We're circling around discussing what has happened this week a little bit.
Yeah.
But we should provide some context first. Paige and I, like I said, we're friends, but we're coworkers first.
Mm-hmm.
We started working together in the spring of 2023.
Yeah.
That's when you got hired with the Oilers.
from
And-
where?
London, Ontario.
Yeah.
Very,
Which is
very far away.
very far away from all your friends and family.
Yeah.
That's why you share your location with
Renato.
with Ken or not Ken, Dale.
Alan.
Sorry.
I think that we're all avoiding talking about what has happened this week. And because on this show, so much of what we've been talking about for the past 2 months now has been the Oilers playoffs.
Yeah.
We do have to talk about it a little bit.
It's true. I would say, look at the carpet, and we'd say, oh, that reminds us of Stuart Skinner's beard. I mean, everything was Oiler for the last 2 months. We're all exhausted.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's like running a marathon and then getting like 5 feet from the, well, maybe not 5 feet. Last year was like 5 feet.
Yeah.
This year was like 10 feet from the finish line, and you fall down and you can't get across it. And you're like, oh my gosh, was that all for nothing? You were there being the Oiler reporter. You were there for Game 6 in Florida. You had a chance to feel it all, share it all. Saw after the game. Told Bailey that she was going to take over here, but look at me taking
I
over.
know.
But I saw this is a place I
The
want
Oilers, this is good for you. You got to get it
This
out.
is the place I want to start. It was very difficult to watch any of the post-game stuff. But of course, Connor came on and they were interviewing him. And there's this blonde-haired girl in the corner holding up her microphone. And Connor's talking. And I could see the pain in your face along with his, right?
Yeah.
Like, right?
I think because in our jobs, I'm sure that Bailey can attest to this, like you care about them so much more than what the average fan does because you know them as people.
Exactly.
So it's like, yeah, like I am a fan of the Edmonton Oilers. Of course, it's my job, but I'm a fan of these guys as human beings as well. When we're on the road, like we are traveling with them on the plane, on the buses, to and from the hotel, to and from the rink, like you are with them pretty well, like 24/7. Like their schedule is our schedule. And so, you know, and then you also like learn about their families and that they are just like goofy guys that like to have fun and are very, very talented at their craft. And I think that you just have so much respect for what they're able to do on the ice, but you also just are so aware of the fact that once they step off the ice, like they are human beings. And of course, in that moment, speaking with Connor, like you mentioned, like that is the best player in the entire world. There is no doubt in anybody's mind. And he came short for a second year in a row of his lifelong dream. So you can only imagine the
His
pain.
only dream
Exactly.
since he was 6.
That's what he wants. And
Right.
there's no doubt in my mind that he will get that and he will raise that cup. I know that he will. But knowing that, you know, you're in that moment that's part of the story that's going to make the story so good and so rich when he does finally lift the cup. Like, you recognize that it's special, but it doesn't make it any less hard.
And I'm not as close, but my family can attest to this. After the game, I felt like they were all my sons. Connor McDavid's the same age as my son. And I started to argue with people on Twitter because I was like, they don't care. That was pathetic. I'm like, of course they care.
Yeah.
Sometimes somebody's just better than you. And for whatever reason, and again, so you put that whole human thing to it. And I saw this, I was able, as big a fan as I am, I was still able to see that as them being just people, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what made it way worse for me, honestly. Because I wanted it for them, more than for me, and that's quite a statement.
And someone who wears his heart on his sleeve is Leon Draisaitl. And I remember we went over to where his media scrum was happening, and the first thing that I heard him answer was, "It doesn't matter, we didn't win, nobody cares." Yeah. And he's speaking from a painful place.
Yeah.
And you could just feel it even amongst the staff. Everyone was just like, oh my gosh, we waited all year and worked all year to get back to this moment. And that's the thing is for people to be saying oh, they didn't care. And it's, it's not a debate that the Florida Panthers were the better team this year. And look at the previous 3 rounds. Look how things changed during the LA series. They cared. Look at game 3 of the LA series and how much passion was on the ice. I'm sure we all felt such an undisputed amount of joy when Leon scored the overtime winner in game 1 on home ice. Those are crazy things that you just can't really put into words. And so they cared.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes
and you cared.
Yeah.
I cared a lot. And the thing
that's what I saw.
And for Bailey and I, like what you're saying is the fact that, being the same age as your son, we are in the same stage of life as these guys.
Mm-hmm.
We understand, they're just getting married, there's building their families, all those different types of things.
All the money in the world, but it doesn't matter. It didn't matter at that moment, right?
It didn't matter in that moment at all.
Yeah.
And that's where you see that, Corey Perry, I found, always had a really good way of breaking it down. And, when people are talking about how big these moments are and how important they are, and he would always say, once the puck drops, it's just a hockey game.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of simplifying it that way. And of course that comes with his experience and the amount of times that he's played on such big stages. But I thought that even made me go okay, it's just a hockey game. It's all good. Because I think in the press box of game 6 at Amerant Bank Arena, it's a hostile environment. It is nothing like Rogers Place, nothing.
Yeah.
But you felt I felt that pit in my stomach. And then Sam Reinhart scored that goal the way that he did. And I was like, oh, no.
It's going to be a long plane ride home.
Yeah.
And you're flying with them, and it's tough, right? It's tough.
It's tough because you see the looks on their faces. And, it's not just something that they get on the plane the next day and they forget about.
Yeah.
You watch them get off the plane and they're feeling that. And then you they have to talk to the media the next day and ask, answer these questions that they're asked, why didn't this happen? Why did this go like this? Why didn't you show up in a certain way? And it's well, there's something to be said about the fact that the Florida Panthers just showed up really, really well.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's been days in my life, in radio or any other career where you didn't have a great day and you got beat in whatever way it was, but there wasn't 95 microphones in your face going, explain why that happened, Chris. Why did you just have the worst day of your life? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they make all the money in the world, and there'll be people saying, yeah, suck it up, boys, but they are boys, and they are just human. So I just think it's very, very important. You try, again, to be as whatever fan as you can, but it's really hard when you're with them every day.
It's really hard, and especially once you get to the playoffs and the final, you're fist pumping your coworkers in the press box.
Underneath the counter.
Hell yeah. Can I say that? I don't know.
I've been in the press box too. It was last year when they played Calgary, and I can't remember who I was sitting with, and Janessa.
Yeah.
And we were fist pumping underneath because there was a bunch of Flames Black Aces that were right beside us. But we're don't.
And as the rounds go on, the celebrations get less and less
controlled.
Subdued. Yeah. You're kind of tapping the desk at the beginning, and then you're slowly standing
and
up.
it's funny because you can feel different parts of the press box
Yes.
where that some Oilers coaches are, and then there's the media team, and then there's the PR team, and everyone is all yeah, okay.
They have their own different levels. It's funny how during the season I feel like it is very calm, and it is kind of understood that you don't really show your emotions, and then as the playoffs go on, the rules go out the window a little bit, and the press box is getting more and more full, and
Yeah.
I think when we saw you on the TV talking to Connor right after that game,
Yeah.
it also showed why she's so good at her job.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like this,
Yeah.
there's a lot of compliments we could give to Paige, but it's
Yeah.
like they had the same look in their eyes, and it's
Yeah.
like that's why he is going to want to talk to you
Yeah.
about that. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah.
it's like you're not here to make him feel bad about something that he is feeling horrific about already.
Yeah.
It was there's just like an understanding there and like a mutual respect where you're doing your job and he did his job, and it just is what it is.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that because like I did feel like crying, but
Yeah.
in that room, and like I was one of 2 women in that room, which is often the case, but
Yeah.
it's like I don't want to be the one woman who's standing here crying,
Yeah.
even though I was just crying like with our boys, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
it's different where it's like
Yeah, there
I
wasn't
almost-
just women crying, for the record.
yeah, well, yeah, that being in that room
Right.
is always interesting because there's just so many different energies going on,
Yeah.
and everyone ultimately like you're also hearing the announcers like in the arena
Yeah.
announce that the Florida Panthers are the 2025 Stanley Cup champions, and you're like,
Yeah.
make it go away. I feel like I'm living in a very bad dream right now.
Yeah.
On
yeah.
the road and being in their rink when the cup is given up. Neither of us were last year when
Neither
the
of us
same
were
thing
last year.
happened. We were in
Yeah.
a suite at Rogers Place, and I was 8 months pregnant and so hormonal, and I was not even trying not to cry.
But you were killing it in that silver top you
Oh,
had.
Oh.
In hindsight, dressing like a pregnant
Girl.
Stanley Cup
Girl.
was not the move.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we had to talk about it because we've
Yes.
been talking about it for so many weeks, of
Can't
course,
just
and
avoid
but
it.
nobody wants to remember. Nobody wants to remember it, but but the fact is that I think it's important just to, again to remind everybody that yeah, they absolutely did try their best. Did they play their best games? No. You know, did they play maybe their smartest games? No. I mean, you know, but again, when you play somebody that great, and that Florida team, as much as we can hate them all with a passion, they're a great hockey team. They might go down in history as one of the best teams in the last 20 years. So it's unfortunate that you come up against them, but you know what? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. No victory without a struggle, as we say
Yeah.
at Thorsby High School. And and we'll be ready. I know I say right now, oh my gosh, again next year, here we go. We're going to go through all of that again. Once it gets here, I'll be like, bring it on.
Yeah, it's
Right.
going to make the story so much sweeter
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
they finally do get to that end goal.
And I don't have to ignore my lawn anymore. So
Get to it.
The thing about a long run like that, and now 2 consecutive years in a row, is the season just comes so fast after that because you're playing hockey late into June, and then it's like, oh, by September we're getting into preseason again, and it's like it's just not a long off season at all.
And like a lot of people don't realize that immediately once like game 7 and now game 6, like next week, we already today we're like previewing what we're going to do for the draft and then free agency.
Free agency is 10 days away now.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy.
No rest for the digital team. No rest.
yeah, the best thing for a digital team is for their team to finish last because they're done April 12th.
There is something to be said about the San Jose Sharks digital team. Great people on that team,
Yeah.
but man, are they chilling.
Yeah.
They're refreshed. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
although the draft is much more important to them than
Yeah.
it is to us. So,
Yeah.
you know, there's different levels to it.
Exactly. All right.
But we're here to talk about you.
We are, but we had to get to this. We're starting at the end and getting to the beginning.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Tell us about little Paige Martin growing up. I think a lot of people that work for the team and people that we work with are Edmonton people, grown, raised here, Oilers fans. That's not the case for you. You're a transport. So do you want to talk a little bit about your early life?
Absolutely. I feel like the number one question that I get when people ask, like, where are you from? And I say Ontario, they immediately go, oh, are you a Leafs fan? As if, like, there's not Leafs fans in Alberta, because I've watched
There's a
when
lot
the
of Leafs
Leafs
fans in
play
Alberta.
the Oilers and how
Yes.
crazy Rogers Place is. That being said, no, I absolutely wasn't. I did grow up in a household that was my older brother, a Leafs fan, my dad, a Habs fan. And I truly, like, people always ask, like, who did you cheer for? I didn't have a specific team. I loved watching the sport, and I loved watching Christine Simpson. And that is like, she is like so interwoven into like why I chose to do what I am now doing today. But yeah, growing up in London, Ontario, I have an older brother and a younger sister, so I was the middle child. And with that, I blame that for being the fact that I don't think that I really spoke until I was in the 10th grade. I grew up playing competitive basketball, and like that's all I cared about was just playing basketball, hanging out with my friends.
Because you're competitive.
I am very competitive.
Paige
yes.
is, every sport I have seen Paige play in, recreational or otherwise, she's good at, which is
Yeah.
an amazing skill to have.
Thank you so much. It was like the one thing that I put all my energy into, and like my my brother is a very intelligent human being. He went on to be a chiropractor like my dad. And my little sister is going to law school in the fall. And like, I'm okay that like I'm the third smartest child. That's fine.
But I'm good at sports.
But I'm really good at sports and I can talk about them. So
What if you don't have any of that stuff like that?
You're screwed.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
That's me. All right. Anyway, yeah.
It was kind of crazy. Like I go back to this story because when I was growing up playing basketball, we would travel everywhere. And I remember there was one provincial tournament where at the beginning of the tournament, they gave, there was like one player on each team that had to read a script to the crowd, essentially to your parents. And it was essentially saying like, if you misbehave, you will not be welcome back for the rest of the tournament. But I vaguely remember reading this script. And then it wasn't until years later, like when I was graduating high school, that my parents brought up to me that like other parents went up to them being like, okay, we didn't really know that Paige could speak, like, 'cause she's so quiet, but she can speak really, really well. Like, she can speak in front of people. And for my parents, yeah, oh, it speaks. And my parents were like, yeah, like, she absolutely can speak really well. But, like, they kind of had noticed that about me, too. And I feel like that was something that really opened my eyes to the fact of, like, when I was graduating high school, I really wanted to be able to play post-secondary basketball, and that was my plan. The journalism program that I ended up pursuing at Western as well as Fanshawe in London didn't allow for me to play. So I was like, oh no, like my dreams are all crushed. Everything that I've worked for until this moment, I can't do. Right. But then suddenly I had the opportunity to study journalism and I was like, I'm going to focus in on sports. And every professor that I had was like, don't do that. Don't like limit yourself. You're not going to be able to do that. And I have one professor who he remains a mentor for me. He's on the radio in London. His name is Mike Stubbs. I always go back to this. He looked at me and he actually taught like in my second year of journalism broadcast. He taught like a sports class because when you're reading the news, you have to understand how to speak about sports. Mm-hmm. So that was really cool. Like as soon as I saw that was on our curriculum and that was a class, I was like, yes, like I'm going to ace this. And he looked at me and he was like, oh no, you absolutely can pursue this. And he was like the one person that was like, yeah, of course you can. And also like, I've seen the way that you work, like I see your work ethic, like you can do it. And he was like, it's not gonna be fun for a long time, but then it's gonna be really, really fun if you stick with it. So that always stands out in my mind. That program was fantastic. I loved it. I took 5 years. I did my master's at Western as well, which was in journalism and communications. Right out of that, I got a job in the corporate world.
I'm just going to stop you there. Mike Stubbs, that's his name, Mike Stubbs. If you ever are at a Chris Scheetz speech, when I'm doing keynote stuff, chrissheetz.ca to book now.
Hell yeah.
Just do that little plug.
One thing about him is he's going to promote himself.
I'm going to
As he should.
I'm going to plug that
He
puppy.
says, we're in the middle of Paige's story, but...
Let's talk about my speaking through tour. But again, I talk about a boss that I had who believed in me more than anything. He believed in me way more than I ever did. And you need to find those people in your life, right? Or you're not going to have a chance. So you got to kind of find those people, or hopefully they find you, like they did in your case.
100%. And I think that, like, I'm very lucky to say that I grew up in a household that did nothing but believe in me. Like my parents were like, yeah, you can do this, like fully. Right. No matter when I started, where I am, wherever I want to go, they have been the best at that. But I think having someone who was in the industry, like at one point in his career, this is a super crazy story. He worked for the Calgary Flames at one point in his career. And so he had kind of been, in the NHL. He understood that. But then I remember when I told him that I had applied for this job, he was like, oh, the Edmonton Oilers. Okay, this is going to be crazy. But there's a guy out there that I know that you should reach out to. His name is Cam Moon. And I was like, oh, okay, sounds good. Like, what does he do?
Is that a real name?
Yeah, like I was like, okay, sounds interesting. Turns out, fast forward, Cam is now like one of my best friends.
Nicest guy on the planet.
Nicest guy on the planet. Yeah. We have so many laughs together.
Sorry, pun intended. Nicest guy on the
planet.
You're on fire. You are on fire. Dad jokes are rolling. But it was so weird that he was like, if you get a chance to connect with a guy named Cam Moon. I met him when the Memorial Cup was in Red Deer. Yeah. And so Cam Moon was actually helping to host the Memorial Cup because obviously he was with Rebels. Yeah. And then the London Knights were at the Memorial Cup in 2016. They had connected. He was like, he's the best guy ever. So that was kind of a weird thing that now fast forward, Cam is a very important person in my life. And so that was just a small little thing. But having Mike say, yeah, you absolutely can do this, when every other person in the industry is like, make sure you try out weather, make sure.
Sports is tough because it is tough. There's many fewer jobs. Really, there are, right?
It's incredibly tough. Like even my road to get to where I am, people are like, that is so cool. Oh my God, you must have so much fun. Not necessarily like kind of insinuating like you're so lucky. And I'm like, there is an element of being lucky, but there is an element where like, I really worked for this. Like from the moment that I graduated high school, I volunteered for 3 years covering the GOJHL. And it is hockey that acronym matches the hockey, right? Like that is junior B hockey that the local radio station or television station, I should say, broadcasted. I was doing sideline reporting for it. And that's how I kind of got my reps in. And then suddenly there was an open position.
How many fights were in those games?
Oh, goodness me. Sometimes it'd be like a Wednesday night. And I'm like, I have lecture in the morning, like at 8 a.m. Can we wrap it up?
The fourth time 2 guys have fought.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, refs get control of the game. But then the refs are also the same age as these guys anyways.
And the refs are fighting. And
that was a really crucial time in my development, like just realizing like, do you really want to do this? Because I would have, university papers to write. And I'd be writing them while the game is going on, also while prepping for like my intermission interview, different little things like that. And then I progressed to kind of get the call up to the OHL, again with the same local TV station, but
you're literally moving up like a player would, in a way,
I was
right?
getting the call up. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And a really, really awesome kind of full circle moment was my first day with the Edmonton Oilers, going inside the dressing room when Evan Bouchard saw me. He was my very first OHL interview, which is crazy. So my very first time that I was doing a broadcast with the Knights, Evan Bouchard, he had just been drafted by the Edmonton Oilers. Yeah. This was a preseason game. I want to say it was like August 30th. And he was almost packed up, ready to go to camp with the Edmonton Oilers. And then when he saw me on my first day with the Oilers, which was now, over 2 years ago, he was like, Paige, we both made it. Yeah. And it was like that is Evan Bouchard to a T for you. Yeah. He is such a sweet boy, but at the same time, it was one of those things where he realized in that moment, like I had been working towards something just like him and his teammates were working towards what they are every single day.
Full circle. That is so cool.
So crazy. And then like, there's even a crazy story where Jeff Jackson, like this is just weird, if anything.
So
Jeff
he's
Jackson,
the CEO of hockey operations, right?
Yeah.
For the Edmonton Oilers.
For the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah.
He makes a lot of decisions in that company.
I thought you were going to say money.
That too, probably.
I'm guessing.
As we know, he used to be Connor McDavid's agent before he got this job with the Oilers.
Yeah.
And he was, since we were both from Ontario, somehow he caught our broadcast one day. And we actually just talked about this, the practice day that we had before Game 6. And he was like, I looked back and that was like 2019. He was like Luke Evangelista was there, Connor McMichael was there, and I was like, yeah, that would have been 2019. And he's like, I have this video of you, and I was like, this girl's good. Hope someone hires her. And then I remember it was actually Bob Stauffer introduced me to Jeff and was like, this girl went to Western just like you. And Jeff was like, oh, awesome. And he was like, that stood out to me. And then I was finding a picture on my phone for my kids, and then suddenly there's this video of you, and I was like, that is crazy.
Wow.
So that's like one of those, like, the hockey world is so small.
Yeah. You're beaming right now. You're telling that story.
Yeah,
I think so cool.
I think that's what goes to show that
you're always beaming and glowing, but you know what I mean.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It just goes to show that like you never know who's watching, and you never like every opportunity counts. I think that's something that like I always tell people when people ask like, how did you get here? It's like every single broadcast that I did, which I should really calculate how many games that was.
Yeah.
Like I took it very seriously.
Yeah.
In a good way. Like I started having fun with it. But that's how I developed like who I am on air as well, and how comfortable I can be. So. And
the point is, you took it serious and you worked hard all the time. And so that when Jeff Jackson saw you that many years later, he didn't say, I remember you. You really sucked.
Exactly. Yep. Imagine if that was what he said. He was like, remind me never to hire this girl.
Oh, we did hire her. Oh, not for long, right?
Yeah. But imagine like telling 2019 me, who was just finishing her master's degree, that Connor McDavid's agent is
Yeah.
taking a video of you on his phone because like what you're doing is good.
Yeah.
And like I've sometimes hesitated telling that story because I'm like, I don't want it to seem like I'm like bragging, but then I remember that
Yeah.
it's like, no, I can be really, really proud of that because I've worked really hard for
It's
this.
also just factual information. It's
It
not
is.
you're not boasting about something. He took a photo of you and said,
And then pulled me aside on the team plane, and
Yeah.
I literally went back to my seat, and I was like, "What's happening right now?"
The
Well
best thing
deserved.
about a Paige Martin answer is
Yeah.
that we asked about her early life and she just answered my first 6 questions.
no.
No, that's perfect. That's amazing. You're giving such a great picture, but I was like, oh, we got to touch on basketball. We got to touch on. I also love that you said you're the least smart sibling in your family, and then went on to talk about your master's degree. Like I don't.
My
think,
parents did a fantastic job. Sometimes my parents like joke, like I don't know if you make these jokes, like they're like, "I'm sorry for like however we messed you up," and I'm
Yeah.
like, truly, if you look at the like what your kids are doing,
Yeah.
you did a pretty good job.
See, we don't get those jokes because it might be too serious.
And I just want to back up really fast to a family of chiropractors. What did my grandpa George used to call them? Chiropractors. Chiropractors.
That's
I like
nice.
that.
You see, chiropractors.
Yeah.
But I mean, how handy. It's like you wake up in the morning and you're like, geez, my hip a little bit, Dad. You know?
No, like we are spoiled brats.
Yeah.
Like my sister moving away to law school because she went to Western as well. So
Yeah.
like the first time that I was ever moved away from my family was when I moved to Edmonton.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing was like, I'm not going to get adjustments every day
Yeah.
or like multiple times a week. And it was
Yeah.
Bree, my partner, who was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's not normal.
Yeah.
Like, grow up.
Yeah, you do still live with a very important healthcare worker. Like
yeah,
she
she's
still
the
does-
best movement massage therapist.
On
If you want to
Instagram.
follow, she's
Yes.
fantastic. Like all bias aside,
Yeah.
even if I didn't have the connection with her that I do, I would
Yeah.
still talk about her and her profession the exact same way because I am every single day
Yeah.
blown away. Like even on our way to your house today, she was telling me about an experience that she had with a client, and I was like, that is so beautiful. Like the way that you connect with people
Yeah.
and that you validate them and what they're going through. Like
Yeah.
it's awesome. So I don't know if
we
we
could
have
do a whole episode on
40
Bree's
hours.
work.
Yeah.
She's worked on me, so
Yeah.
to speak, and she's brilliant. And yeah, there is a different kind of relationship there with her, and even Dr. Burns, my chiropractor. Same thing. It's an incredible relationship, and it's not like well, he doesn't crack your neck, but just there's so much to it. And then when I leave, I'm just like, oh man, do I ever feel better?
Delighted.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I grew up also working like part-time at my dad's clinic, and
Yeah.
at the same time my mom also works
How many
out of there.
people did you hear pass gas? Because every time they got
Goodness.
something
One of the craziest stories is actually that like there was a baby who wasn't able to go to the washroom. It was like a 6-month-old baby, wasn't
Yeah.
able to do the number 2.
Yeah.
And my dad like kind of was hearing about this, like, and wasn't actually seeing the baby, but the parents.
Yeah.
And the parents were like, we have this like huge issue. We're so worried about him. We don't know if we should take him to the hospital.
Yeah.
My dad was like, okay, I just want to let you know that like babies, it's very safe for babies to get adjusted.
Yeah.
It's completely different for infants than it
Yeah,
is
of
for
course.
Yeah.
adults. He explained what he was going to do, and they were like, if you feel like you can fix this, then do it. And then I think it might be one of my dad's favorite stories. It's one of my favorite stories because he adjusted this baby, and it's more so just like putting like pressure on different
Yeah,
parts
it's
of their
kind of
body.
moving. It's not really.
Yeah. And then the baby pooped
Manipulating.
all over him, and
It
he
did?
was like,
So
"Yeah."
excited.
Yeah, he was so excited, and the parents were mortified, but they were also so relieved.
Sure.
And he
It's
was
like
like,
Renato on a date.
"It was maybe it was Renato."
It's a baby.
I'm so
No, he's
sorry.
never had trouble going number 2 in his life.
Maybe he should get adjusted the other way.
Whatever the opposite is.
That's awesome.
I'm sorry. But,
It's
you know,
okay.
recall jokes are the best. Like,
Oh,
It's
yeah,
the best.
especially if the people haven't listened to the previous episode. It's perfect.
It's nice that you guys can have bits going.
Oh,
You know what
yeah.
I mean?
We-
And everybody gets it.
recall jokes.
Yeah.
Recall jokes.
So now we fast forward to 2023. You get the phone call that you have been hired by the Edmonton Oilers. You've got the ultimate call up, as we referenced earlier, and then you realize that you have to uproot your life
Yeah.
to come here. And like you said, it's the first time moving away from your family. First off, what was it like getting that call and realizing that you got this job? And then what was it like moving across the country where you didn't know anybody at the time?
So the call was obviously life-changing. I had a pretty good feeling because there was like a meeting that I had a couple weeks before where they were like, if you're into this, then like we're super into you. And I was like, unreal. But then getting that official call saying like, we'd love to offer you this position. I was living on my own at the time, again, in the same city as my parents, but I wanted to make sure that I didn't just like call them. And it was kind of interesting because it was a Friday afternoon and the London Knights would play on Friday nights. So I would always, like, there would be a broadcast that night. So I was having my game day, like, nap. I would try and nap for like half an hour. And she called during that time. I immediately get in the car, sprint over to my parents' house. And I was like shaking the entire time. Like, I'm so glad that the way that I got there, like I kind of had to go through some country roads. So I was definitely way over the speed limit. But as soon as like I knocked on their door, they both were there. Like they kind of had a feeling. And then like, I remember just like falling into their arms because I was like so relieved. Like it was like everything that I have worked for, but also that like you guys have supported me with and encouraged me with. Like that was a moment, I'm gonna get emotional talking about it. That was a moment where I was like, we did it. Like not just like me, like we all did it. Cause again, like my schedule through like university, I wouldn't have been able to get the education, the experience without their complete support. So that was a moment where just like the three of us were like, oh my God. And then figuring out how to move across the country, we're sitting on the couch and I'm like, I have to leave my job tonight. Like I have to tell my producer, this is my last broadcast.
You didn't have a lot of time.
I didn't have a lot of time.
No.
And something that stood out to me, I will say, Bales, is like you were the very first person that messaged me. And I was like, this girl seems so cool. I'm like so excited. I like told my mom.
I said you could live in our basement.
I think you did. I was like, I don't know. She seems pretty safe. like, I
Someday I'll share my location with her husband.
Literally, it was like, congratulations on the job. And I like said, like, thank you so much. And then you were like, if you need a place to live. And I was like, okay.
That makes me proud. That's exactly what you do.
Absolutely.
Right?
And like, I think from that moment, I was like, okay, I think that this is going to be like a person for me. And so that was really, really nice. And it just brought me so much comfort, like moving across the country, moving out of the city that I like grew up in, that my whole family was there, leaving them for the first time. Like I had so many emotions because I'm very close to my family. And I have a little sister who I just like care so deeply about. And she was in university and it was like this whole thing where I was like, I don't want to leave my baby sister. You know what I mean? But the most rewarding time of my life, like I would never change a thing. I think that the first 2 months were the hardest, and it was immediately like jumping into the job, just go, go, go. We had like 10 regular season games
right
left.
Before playoffs.
And then it was playoffs.
Yeah.
And then we lost in the second round.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then suddenly it was May, and I was like, I'm alone all the time. Bree wasn't here yet.
Yeah.
And that's when I truly felt like you and Renato like adopted me. And I was like, thank God. Like, I don't know what I would have done without you guys that summer. Like, because I was so, I missed my family so much. But then, like, the next season's starting and you really start to feel like Edmonton is home. That's something, Bree and I love Edmonton so much. Like, we have both said, like, we would be so happy if our life kept us here for the rest of our lives. It's such an easy city to
So
love.
would we.
Yeah, well, if that's not the case, we're not talking about that.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah, well, and I think that's something that we just were like, we were so fascinated by the fact that the sun stays out so late in the summer. Like, we were like, oh my gosh, our mental health is so much better out here.
Just don't talk about the winter. But yeah, the summer's great.
Yeah, and we even say, like, as like from Ontario, like the winter doesn't feel that bad because the sun at least comes out. In southwestern Ontario, the sun doesn't come out.
And it's wet cold.
Wet cold, which is worse than dry cold.
You
Dry
can't
cold is
you can't
so much
protect
better.
yourself from wet cold. It's so it gets through anything you're wearing, and it
Yeah.
just bites to the core. Right?
Yeah, if you're like looking for an Edmonton ambassador, like it's the two of us. We
Yeah.
love Edmonton so much.
Yeah.
Thank gosh. We did our best the first summer to be like, please stay. When we talk about your hiring, our Edmonton Oilers digital team, for like a little peek behind the curtain, I guess, is just very close. Like we work together every game day, every practice. It's every day during the season for long, long hours. And when we're not together, it's constant communication to make sure that everything is getting up and getting recorded. And there's videographers and reporters and social media. And there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
And when you're hiring someone new and when there's like an opening, it's a little bit stressful because it's like, okay, we're bringing someone else into this very tight-knit situation. And that can be like you don't know how that's going to go. If you hire the wrong person and they come in and
Well, it's
kind
like a family if
it really
somebody
is.
marries
like,
the wrong person.
Yeah, you don't.
It's like a family.
Not that anybody has in our family, but
it's all
yeah.
these siblings that have been like put together.
It really is like they say that like it's a toxic workplace if they're like, oh, it's like family, but it really is for us like family because during the season we see each other more than most families see each other.
Yeah.
And so when Paige was hired it was a long process, but when Paige was finally hired, I remember being like, okay, I feel good about this. Like, I feel good, but I'm nervous because we're bringing in someone new. And then you had come with your family to kind of check things out before you officially started. And I met you and your parents, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is just, to me, it was like a different chapter of my career too, because now I had this like person that I'm working with that
Well,
like,
she took some of your job away from
well,
you.
that's the running joke is that Paige stole my job.
I always tease her about that.
Because I was doing my job and in the interim while the hiring process was going on, part of Paige's job as well. And I was not okay.
And
So-
if anybody deserved it and is is good enough to take my daughter's job, it's you.
I think it was so like incredible how you started and just hit the ground running. Again, 10 regular season games and then the playoffs, just fit in so well and did the job so well. The first time I ever did the intermission report on the desk, which you do with Tony Brar every single game, it was my second day or third day of being hired, and I absolutely blacked out on the screen in front of Rogers Place, 18,000 people. I didn't know what to say. The
That's
lights were
fair.
on me, the ear thing I wasn't used to.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, Paige, like, don't worry. Like, it's going to be okay. Like, if you don't do it perfect, they're not going to fire you. I know that. It's going to be fine.
They're just going to replace you with somebody else.
Paige goes up there on her first intermission
Oh, my
report and
gosh.
absolutely nails it.
Oh, yeah.
It's-
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
It would be.
It's because I'm very competitive.
So am I, but I'm not. When it comes to what you do, you can tell that you have been working towards it your whole life.
Thank you.
It's
I
very,
appreciate
very
that.
obvious. And I think that anyone that says, oh, she's so lucky, you are lucky to have the talent that you do, but there's a lot of hard work that people don't see behind the scenes, for
Thank you.
sure.
I want to just say that this tight digital crew that you're part of, right?
Yeah.
I get the feeling that Bailey, still she's my little girl, is kind of like the mama bear of the group.
100%.
Which-
There's no one that looks out for us and protects us the way that Bailey does, and
Yeah.
I love it. Like a couple of the boys and myself always joke that like we need our mom around, and it's been like genuinely like it was a transition this season, like not having Bailey there 24/7. You obviously are still present in the group chat, like you said. We're
I
talking
have
in
to
it
send
all
memes.
the time.
Yeah.
You have to lighten the mood sometimes, and also just like being able to pop in, like you are a breath of fresh air, and I think that the team didn't realize that until you left, being like, oh my God, we are not laughing as much. Like, we are not as silly goofy. Like, someone has to bring the vibes.
Nobody is wearing ridiculous outfits in this room. What is going
The
on?
colors really like went down a little bit. So
And the area is clean. I don't know why.
It's just
Oh.
not chaos.
yeah,
There's
and I will say like Paige has done a fantastic job.
Yes.
But it's just like it's a different energy, and we had to get used to not having Bailey there to always like lighten the mood or bring honey in. And
But now I have a dog and a baby to bring in for next season, so
we
it's
are
gonna be
so excited.
yeah, it is. And I think that's one thing that I really learned from you, Dad, is that like you have your radio kids. Like our first guests on this podcast were Jack and Matt, who were Dad's co-hosts on Kissin' for so many years.
Yeah.
And I just grew up in an environment where your coworkers were your family.
Yeah.
And like you were so close with them and still so close with them that when I came into this work environment at the Oilers, it wasn't weird for me. I wasn't like, oh, okay, like this is, wow, we're very close. It's like, no, these are like these connections and these people, you have to care about them, you know? And I think that is something that was very normal to me. But when you take a step back or talk to people that like work at corporate office
like,
jobs,
"What?"
they're like, what do you mean you said this girl could stay in your basement before you met her?
And it's so special.
what do
Like
you
it's
mean
like
Is this Hannibal Lecter? What's going on?
What do you mean your coworker and her partner are coming over for lobster to your parents' house all the time? Like it is weird, but it doesn't
Yeah.
feel weird.
Yeah,
it doesn't
what do
feel
you-
weird because like you have such strong friendships and like no one else knows what you're going through. Like the players always say, like we're going to war with each other, and it's like that's this. We aren't doing the same things,
No,
but
yeah.
we are pumping out a lot of work. We're
Yeah.
doing a lot of stuff.
We're a team.
We're
on
a
our
team.
own, for sure.
And it's just like we have to, because like you said, we see each other more than we see our blood family, our chosen partners. Like
Yeah. Well, and I was thinking, because you have used the term, your whatever, your Alberta dad or whatever, and
Yeah.
that's like the nicest compliment I get. When I left Kissin', I found out from so many different people that I worked with, you're like a dad to me, and that was like so many, and that's like the nicest compliment you could have ever given me in my life, right? And that's exactly, and we should all try to be that person, that dad, that mom, for people like in your case, you've got obviously an incredible family, but some people desperately need those people in their life too.
100%.
Right?
And you play a crucial role. Like I know that like my family is so grateful for the fact that I have you guys. Like they just consider you my family now, and they're so happy about it. And so does Bree's family. Like they know that you guys have like adopted us and seem to enjoy having us around. So thank you.
Well, we don't seem to have a choice.
One of
Yeah, that too.
my favorite stories from the first summer that you lived here was Big Valley Jamboree. So again, Paige is new to Edmonton, new to Alberta, new to our family, because like you mentioned, your partner Bree hadn't moved here yet, and it was August long weekend, and I'm like, I bet you Paige doesn't have plans because she doesn't know anyone yet.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
didn't.
like, how do you feel about a music festival? So we gave her the true Alberta, like the most Alberta thing you could do is drag this Ontario girl to Big Valley for the first time.
Yeah.
A
Show her
couple
a
months
porta
after-
potty.
Show her a porta potty. Show her
Those
some
were porta potties. Yeah.
show her some fights in the mud. Like it was the true Alberta experience. But when I was like, so do you want to go to a music festival like in a field a few hours away? And you're like, okay, sure. And that's just the Paige energy. Is like,
I went and bought an outfit.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm ready to go. I wanted to look the part. I didn't
Yeah,
want to
you
like
had
look
to.
super Ontario.
Daisy
Yeah.
Dukes, Daisy Dukes.
But then I think
Jorts.
my favorite part of that day was Carter teaching me how to play beer darts.
yes.
That felt like a culture shock. I was like, oh, I'm in it now.
Can you explain beer darts? Because there'd be people that don't know what beer darts are. Obviously,
yeah,
it involves
well,
beer and darts. But
Absolutely. So correct me if I'm wrong, because again, I am from Ontario and never played this game until that moment. But you sit around in a circle and
Yeah.
everybody has a drink in their hand, but also a drink
By their
by
feet.
their feet.
Yep.
By
their
you,
toes.
You have literal darts that you are trying to throw and hit another person's drink so that it starts spraying open, and then they immediately have to drink it.
Yeah.
And it's like insane because I was like, okay, so like who's the winner? And they were like, oh, this game like never stops. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, no. The only way to stop beer darts is if someone gets it in the leg.
Yeah, thankfully that didn't happen.
Not
but
this
I
time.
had to like see myself out after my drink had like I went through 3, and I was like, I might die.
Then they go to the Camrose Hospital and get a tetanus shot. I bet your parents are really thrilled that we're taking care of you now.
They want me to be immersed in the culture as much as possible.
We don't play beer darts often.
No.
Not
It was
often.
only
But
one
when
time.
we do. But when we do.
Yeah.
So true.
Speaking of Big Valley,
Yeah.
when we're on the road,
Oh my gosh. Yes. When we're on the road, we're driving our Londonderry Dodge. Londonderry Dodge. Your mom said to me, she says, make sure you say Londonderry Dodge. You have a bad habit of just saying Londonderry. And that could be the mall. That could be anywhere. Although I said, honey, the mall doesn't sell Dodge Rams. But
The people
hey, we
know.
haven't been there in a few years.
no, they don't. They don't.
Londonderry Dodge.
Londonderry, say it with us. Londonderry Dodge, driving.
London, like
London,
from
like
London.
me.
From London.
Londonderry Dodge.
Exactly, from London. Ontario Dodge. It's not in London, Ontario. Now she's going to say, why'd you say London, Ontario? I'm going to be in trouble. I driving the Jeep. I don't even know what color it is, but it is so cool.
Slate blue.
You've seen it, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
cool.
Paige came here with us
Yes.
in our Jeep Compass Trailhawk 2025. We had producer Renato driving, me in the passenger seat, Honey on my lap, Leona in her car seat,
Yeah.
Paige in the middle, Bree on the other side.
Yeah.
It was a packed Jeep Compass
And I'm
Trailhawk.
not just saying this, like sitting in the middle seat isn't always comfortable. I am so excited to take that to the mountains. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, I want the middle seat because
Yeah.
Leona also had my arm the entire time, like making sure I wasn't going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Love
well,
that.
she likes to hang on to things.
Yeah.
She hangs on to the holy shit handles.
You never know what's going to happen on the end day. I mean, but it was a very comfortable, truly a very comfortable ride,
Yeah.
very smooth.
It's
So-
a great, great, great family vehicle, and you can pack it in with friends and family.
Londonderry Dodge.
Yes. Tell them Talking Sheets sent you.
And you can get yourself $10 off an oil change with Raylene and the rest of the staff there. They're great people. And, of course, you can get a great deal on a vehicle. Talking Scheetz.
Yeah, you got to tell them that though. You're
Talking-
not just going to get the $10 off.
Talking Scheetz.
Yes.
Got it. All right.
You touched on Christine Simpson and how much she meant to you growing up. Is there other women in broadcast or other women that kind of have shaped you and who you are? Because I feel like you are the next generation of that and such a strong advocate for women in sports. But do you want to talk a little bit about the women that have kind of got you to where you are?
Yeah, I think in general, in my entire life. I mean, if we're speaking like from the industry, there's one other person, that's Laura Oakman.
Yes.
She is an NFL sideline reporter. She actually just announced that she is going to be stepping away from that this season so that she can focus on her business, where I met her, called Galvanize, where she essentially brings young women from across the continent together to do these like boot camps to train you. You partner with an NFL rookie camp, and you get partnered with an actual NFL rookie, and you go through this boot camp in order to kind of learn broadcasting skills, but also more so like storytelling. Like you really find a way to tell this NFL player's story. So that was one of the most phenomenal experiences of my life. But other women, every single day I think about the fact that like in just my family, like related to my mother is the most badass, always has been. Like she has a way of being very black and white, but also incredibly caring. And she has a certain way of like delivering that. I mentioned before that she's a life coach. She is like so quietly successful in her business. Like sometimes she's like telling me about work and I'm like, Mom, like you just like go about your business so quietly and you are so badass. Like you are changing these like high up executives like lives. You are having such profound impact on them. So being raised by someone like Melissa has definitely shaped who I am today, just in terms of like knowing my worth, knowing what I deserve, never questioning that. And I think that between especially my sister and I, we're two very strong-willed individuals who will like stand up for what they believe in. And that's probably the greatest gift that my mom has given us, because I don't think that it was necessarily her being like, you know, always stand up for what you believe in, always fight for this. Like she quietly let us
Learn
there.
by watching.
Yeah, because she always did it. She set that example for us. And so like when there is like an injustice, my sister and I are quick to be like we'll like correct my dad on things. So my dad is a sweet king in himself.
Yeah.
But there's just like these little things where I notice like we are this way. My sister Maya and I are this way because of who my mom is. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts that, you know, she's given us. And then arguably my favorite person in the entire world, Maya. She's going to law school in the fall, and I could not be more proud of her. She is, from the moment, I'm 6.5 years older than her, but a lot of the time, like, she feels like the older sister, because she was just, like, she came out of the womb wise. Like, before she could
Have
even
you ever
speak.
won an argument with her?
Never.
No. Well, then
No.
she's perfect for being a
'Cause
lawyer.
She's so
Yeah.
strong-willed.
Yeah.
And she's smart. That's like
That's
the most annoying thing.
A deadly
is-
combination.
Yeah, like she's gonna be deadly in whatever area of law that she decides to pursue. She's gonna be a force because she already is. And she's so intelligent. Like school really became her thing during university. Like she was just so smart and teaching me so much. And I think that like we just have a bond that is unlike anything in my life. Honestly, like I always say, like she's the greatest gift that my parents have ever given me. And I think that's fun because like being 6.5 years apart, you're always at a different stage in your life, but somehow we always found a way to like have so much fun together and be best friends. And obviously we still fought, but like, you know,
That's cool.
yeah, she's the best. And I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of who she is and like who she's becoming because I'm watching that. I'm like watching like the fact that she is this 22-year-old who like is having so much fun, but also is now realizing that she's going to law school and like her life is about to change. We share a lot of opinions on the same things. She arguably is like the same level of Taylor Swift fan
I
that
was
I
gonna
am.
say we haven't even mentioned Taylor.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
Literally crazy.
Because when
50 minutes in. It's a
wow,
miracle.
when Paige Martin was brought up in terms of hiring for the Oilers, and we were kind of looking at candidates and whatnot, I went to her Instagram or Twitter bio, and it said Swiftie, and I said, all right, well, we found our girl.
Not even just like, okay, she meets some criteria. It's like, no, that's it.
Who cares what Jeff Jackson thought? She's a Swiftie.
She's a Swiftie.
Yeah,
She'll
it's a
nail
green
it.
flag. It's a green flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think having them consistently every day and being so close to them, that's definitely given me the confidence to be who I am today. And knowing that, like, when I don't agree with something, I'm gonna have people who like also back me up if I speak up for what I believe in and what I believe to be true.
Yeah.
They're gonna be kind of like my moral compass in a way, right? Like going back to them and being like, it's okay that I feel this way, and like it's okay that I said this and voiced this, right? And they're like, hell yeah, like you have to. So that's been really great.
When you're talking right now, if what you were saying was coming out of a man, we'll be like, oh yeah, well, duh. But when you're saying it, it's like you almost you're not defending yourself, but you're saying, you know what, this is who I am. I should be able to do this. Like I should be able to speak my mind and do these kind of things. And it's taking people like your mom and you and your sister and maybe my co-host to kind of lead the way and keep pushing on that fact that
I was just gonna say, like, as my as I've kind of grown up, then I've met these other people, and I think there's two very important people that I want to highlight. One of them being my partner Bree, who like the reason why one of the reasons why I love her the amount that I do is because of how much respect I have for her, like who she is and her character and how she shows up in the world. Because she was someone that when we first met, it was like you knew how she felt, and she was so unapologetic about it.
Yeah.
And that's how she shows up, and it's so lovable, though, at the same time.
Yeah.
And she has this very endearing spirit to her that's like, you know how she feels about something.
We knew how she felt about Dad's outfit today.
Yeah, she wasn't a fan of that vest.
Vest and T-shirt combo.
She's like, you're wearing a white T-shirt and a Friesen Brothers vest. Are they paying for that?
She's just looking out for you at the end of the day.
Friesen Brothers.
We love them.
Go to Friesen Brothers. Tell them to sponsor the Talking Scheetz
Cole,
podcast.
Cole, if you're listening,
Cole will
Cole,
definitely
Mandy,
hear
we've got a
this.
lot of influence through that whole organization.
we should be eating cinnamon buns.
Oh
Really?
man, we have
Mother
eaten
dog.
cinnamon
Anyway,
buns.
sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's okay.
It's important, but it's important, and I just kind of want to highlight the fact that Bree, that's awesome, and we need just more Brees in the world, right? Like,
100%. And
right?
like, how lucky am I that like this person who, I plan to be with for the rest of my life. That's a consistent example
That's
for
a
me.
long time with Bree, but anyway, carry on.
Long time, and we have the time of our life. Like, she is my best friend, but it's like it's so much fun to be in this relationship with somebody that you also just like admire and like look up to. Like I can confidently say, like, I look up to this person for how she shows up in this world, and like I want to be more like her. And that's probably the coolest thing. And then I think like being able to step into this role, into this team in general, and to like have someone that is greeting me, asking me to live in their basement like Bailey did, but also as just like a sounding board, and like Bailey understanding that it's not easy to be a woman in sports, and then also to be like a visibly queer woman in sports too. Like people hate the fact that women show up in sports, and then they also any other form of diversity or like minority that you are, they also hate on top of that. And like that is a certain sector of a fan base, because there's a lot of people that I know enjoy me and how I show up, and that's amazing.
Most.
Thank you. But I think being able to have Bailey being like, it's okay that you feel this way right now. Like, it's okay that part of this sucks and part of this rocks. It can happen at the same time. I'm here for you. I'm going to like listen to anything that you need to say. Just get it out of your system. And I feel like that's something where it's like immediately, like I just trusted you so much. And it was so nice to have that bond, because like we work with the best boys, but they are also boys. And they're kind of like, what do you mean people are being mean?
Like, they're like, what?
Yeah. What? Don't let it bother you. Like, it's all good. And truly, like, they are a great sounding board as well. But I think just being able to have someone who's the definition of a girl's girl have your back and be like, no, you're actually pretty kick-ass at what you do. Go out and do it again, because you got another intermission report coming up.
There's been back and forth. It's okay to cry in the press box every once in a while. And I think that's something that we've learned together.
We should get a t-shirt.
Down bad crying in the press box.
Well, I wasn't going to go there, but you've gone there, and so we're going to go there. I feel like we need to do this. If you're okay with sharing.
Very safe space.
There was one time when you were walking down White Avenue with Bree.
Yeah.
And an experience happened to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you guys were holding hands.
Yeah.
And somebody was driving by, or were they walking?
They walked by us.
Walking by, yeah.
Yeah.
And
They said, as they walked by, they turned around and they said something that insinuated that they thought we were gross. Essentially, which, like, crazy. Have you seen Brie? She's gorgeous. She's not
Like the most beautiful couple on earth. Come on.
And like we're just being cutie, and like we were with our other friends who also are a female couple, and so they were walking a little bit behind us, and they didn't quite hear it. But I remember, like, in that moment, like I hadn't in person ever experienced that, and like the thing, like at the end of the day, like I recognized, and especially with my job, I recognize that I am a white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed. I identify as a bisexual woman. Like, that's pretty digestible. It really is. Yeah. And I have so much privilege with that. And so my thing, and like Bailey has, like, her support has helped bring me to this like place where I can confidently say, I'm okay to take a couple shots if it means that like it's creating just a little bit more space for people who don't look like me, who don't present the way that I do, to be able to have a place in this sport. But going back to that example, that was like, that was 2 summers ago now. And I remember being like, dang, like we're on White Ave. We literally just went by like Pride Corner. That's crazy. And I was like so emotional about it. And I was angry and I was scared and I was upset. And I just was like so kind of overwhelmed by it. And then I realized like I'm able to share in this pain with my partner, who's like letting me cry into her arms, you know, telling me like how much like our love matters, and that like we both know that what we feel for one another is like the most beautiful thing that we've both ever felt in our life. Right. And like that outweighs it. But it's like crazy that people are gonna shake their heads at that.
Well, and I never expected us to go here, but I'm glad we did, because here's my point. Not everybody, but there are people that say, when is straight month coming?
Straight, it is Pride Month right now.
Straight month is coming.
When is International Man's Day?
Right.
Men's Day.
When is straight month coming? And the answer to that question is when a man and a woman are walking down the street and somebody goes by them and says, you're gross. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Right? But when things like that continue to happen to people like you that are beautiful and are in love, and that absolutely is why we need to do what we do.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's a fact.
When you talk about the people when you were in school that were like, you shouldn't get into sports, like they're probably not telling the straight man that in your course too, you know. They're like, it's going to be harder for you, and it is like, and the people that gave you that advice, it's true. It is going to be harder for you, and it's hard to get a job in sports, period. It's hard to get a job in sports as a woman. It's hard to get a job in sports as a visibly queer woman. There's so many things, but you've just done such an amazing job of, again, being that person for young women and young people at home that are like, okay, I see myself there, which especially in hockey, that's rare.
It's really, really important because like there is a large part of the Oilers fan base who are part of the LGBTQ plus community.
And we were like the first team to bring Pride tape. Like Pride tape was invented in Edmonton.
And Connor McDavid.
Connor McDavid when it was banned, and Connor McDavid was the one that was saying, you know, to Pride tape, like, what can we do to help? And like to me, like you always talk about, okay, like what happens inside a dressing room and like, is it accepted and everything? And that to me showed, yeah, it's absolutely accepted with a leader like Connor McDavid. Like I will never accept any slander towards him as a human being because of like, you know, that prime example. Like I feel safe around him. I would feel safe to introduce Brie to him. And like, even this year, Chris Knobloch, like it was such a small gesture, but he wore a Pride hat the morning skate of the Pride game. And I remember like a couple days after that, we were on the plane and him and I were talking, and I just was like, Chris, this is going to sound kind of weird maybe, but like it meant a lot to me and like a lot of other people that you wore that hat. And he was like, oh my gosh, of course. Like I'll wear it more.
No kidding.
Yeah. And he kind of like, I could see him being like, absolutely, you know, and that just like undoubted, you know, kind of support. And the fact that, you know, our coaches do ask about Brie, like they know about her. Like for Brie wasn't, this might offend some people, but Brie wasn't like the biggest hockey fan coming here. Didn't know a lot about the Edmonton Oilers. Yeah. And then at the Christmas party, Paul Coffey comes up to her and is like, who are you? What are you all about? And then now frequently asks about her and how she's doing. Like that means a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Which also explains your watery eyes after Game 6 when you're standing beside Connor McDavid and his eyes are watery and your eyes are watery, and that's the connection. More than just an athlete, right? Just an absolutely great person. And I didn't know where we were going to go with this, but I'm glad we did. Like I just it's important because you know how much we care about you, and I pray to God there's someday that we don't have to be woke. But until that
It's just
day,
normal.
until
It's normal
that,
to accept.
it's just right. But until that day, we just have to do what we can, and I think we're going to probably just end there because there's nothing else that we can really.
No,
really do at that
I think
point.
that Edmonton is a better place with you here,
My
and
gosh.
Bria, of course.
you.
The Oilers are a better organization with you in it, and
So good.
our family is a better family with you as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah,
Guys, thank you.
Exactly.
Thank
Yeah.
you for adopting me. Bria and I might get like the official papers soon.
Yeah.
Wait, they might be living in this basement, this room. Not bad.
I think that would be a great place for you to be, for sure. Canadian Power Pack. We got to tell you that they are powering the solar, the lights, everything that makes this work in both of our homes here, and it's just a fantastic, fantastic deal. Canadian Power Pack. Tell them Talking Scheetz sent you, and they'll give you the best deal that you possibly can get on your solar, and now's the time to do it. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's summer. Let's get those solar
Oh my
panels
gosh.
going.
They are pumping. Well, maybe not today because it's pouring rain.
Well, most days.
Paige Martin, everybody.
I hope there's some leftover lobster for Brie to crack for us when we
You
go
know she's
upstairs.
putting in a shift up there.
Even when we got nothing to talk about, there's nowhere I'd rather be. 'Cause there's something about you and me just sitting around talking sheets.